We are all one conversation away from a major mega breakthrough. And today we're going to be discovering exactly how that breaks down in the real, raw reality life of a gentleman that I had the privilege of meeting in Dallas, Texas, not too long ago at a world class mastermind session. And for me, it is a privilege to have him here today because obviously, once you hear a little bit about what he's done, you are going to be very, very interested in learning more about him. So before we introduce him, I want to always say hi to my running partner, John Collins, who is actually, John, tell everybody where you are in the
I,
world today.
I am actually in Fort Myers at the Academy.
And how did that happen, John?
I was invited.
And you said yes.
I was invited by you, and I jumped at the opportunity because of what you have going on here. It is inspiring, and it is a way to serve the community and serve the industry. So I am thrilled to be here.
So, listen, I want to tell everybody that's watching, whether you're watching live or on replay, this is your moment to share this. Take out your pen, your paper, sit back and learn from someone that has actually been in the trenches, probably not once, twice, many times over, and is now someone that we can emulate. And when I say that, I am totally serious. So today we are going to be speaking with a dear colleague that I had an opportunity to get to know a little bit about him, but today we're going to go deeper. My friend Eric Orland, and he is the president of the Orland Group. Let me tell you, this gentleman has built a real estate organization of over 3,000, that's right, 3,000 real estate professionals in the last 5 years. He is building his own empire and he's going to break down exactly how he did it. He has 33 years experience in the industry. He has just created an AI something, right? An AI platform that is going to help other people that want to build their own organization because as you know, technology is taking the world by storm. So I want to introduce to everyone, our whole audience here and abroad, my new friend and of course, someone that I'm admiring for what he's doing and someone that I want to learn for, Eric Orland. Welcome to Agents in the Trenches.
Thank you so much, Lucy, to have me. It's good to see you and John.
Yes.
Thank you. It's good to see you, Eric.
Thanks, John. Thanks.
Eric, let's open it up by telling everyone a little bit about you, the real raw realities, because people see your glory, but they don't know your story. And
Oh, wow.
there you
It-
go.
there- there's a lot I had to drudge up to kind of have the success that I'm having. So it has not been an easy haul at all, right? What you put into your career is what you're going to get out of it. So it really does start with mindset for me. And I didn't have a very strong mindset when I first graduated from college. I graduated from UCLA in 1984. And for the next 10 years or 8 years, 8 to 10 years, I lived in Hermosa Beach. I lived right on the Strand where you have hundreds of thousands of bikers and skateboarders that would pass in front of my bedroom each and every morning. That led me to be a compulsive volleyball player. So I never took my career seriously. And at 30 years old, I was marrying into a family where my wife at the time, she was part of the Clinton administration. She ran the White House Women's Office for Bill Clinton and then ran Barack's campaign. Her sister is Dee Dee Myers, the former White House press secretary. So I was marrying into a family where there's a certain expectation of success. And my
Wow.
in-laws to be said to me, "Hey, Eric, maybe it's about time to lose the flip-flops and start like thinking about a career so you can take care of our daughter." And she brought
Wow.
up the idea, Lucy, you're going to get a kick out of this. She brought up the idea of residential real estate. And my response was, why would I do residential real estate? Isn't that for housewives? And she said, wow, that's quite a reaction for somebody who's never worked in their life. She said, have you happened to seen the names of these two people in our town? She said, their real estate signs are everywhere. I said, yeah. She said, well, both of them are about your age and they both make over $1 million a year selling residential real estate. So
Wow.
begrudgingly, I got into residential real estate, but really with the mindset, Lucy and John, that I absolutely was going to be successful, that I was willing to scale over mountains or crawl through rivers in order to achieve the success that I wanted. So I went to every real estate coaching platform I could find. I went to Mike Ferry. and I learned the art of prospecting. I went to Daniel Penley, and I understood the importance of being able to isolate, handle, and overcome any objection I heard. I went to Joe Stumpf, who understand the significance of implementing a drip campaign so I could take the relationships that I identified them and properly cement those relationships. And for the first time in my life, I decided that success was no longer a question mark, that I was willing to do whatever it took. And I was incredibly successful. My second year in the business, I was with Remax at the time. I was one of the top 15 Remax agents in the state of California. So I had a huge, huge amount of success my second year in real estate. And as life would have it, shortly thereafter, my wife at the time took a position in the Clinton administration. I couldn't bring my clients back to DC, which led me into coaching, because I've always believed coaching is beautiful in two things. One, when you tell people that you're doing something, you have to continue doing it or you lose all credibility.
Yes.
And the second belief I've always carried close to me is that the more you receive, the more you give to others, the more you receive. So I started coaching, and I did that for many, 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 many years. And it's something that I highly enjoyed. And I've been doing that for a long time. I did take a brief hiatus. I worked for a well-known investment banking firm called Robertson Stevens in San Francisco. And I was part of the team that took Google and eBay, Yahoo, Amazon public. But ultimately, I came back to doing what I really, really love to do best, Lucy. And that's talking and sharing about residential real estate. And that's where my passion lies. And at 58, the unthinkable happened 5 years ago. I wound up losing everything. And I mean everything I had to my name. I went from not the outhouse to the penthouse. I went from the penthouse to the outhouse. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I had heard about EXP 3 years prior. And at that time I was riding a wave of success. And the person who introduced EXP to me, I remember saying to them, never in this lifetime will I join EXP, never. And here I lost everything, didn't know what I was going to do. And I spent years blowing holes into why EXP wouldn't work. And when I really started analyzing the model, what I quickly realized was there were no holes to plug, that this model allowed any agent in the industry to take their business to the new level by having access to tool, system, support, and technology that's never been offered. And secondly, having the opportunity to have multiple streams of income made available, some of which allowed someone to build generational wealth and have a level of financial stability and security that's never existed before in the industry. So I jumped in with both feet to EXP, and I'm proud to say I have one of the fastest growing organizations in the company.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
In 60 months. So here's what I want everybody to understand. In as long as it takes to pay off a new car, right? You go get a car that depreciates, and they give you 60 months to pay it off. You went from losing it all to rebuilding it, and now having one of the fastest growing organizations that you run within a platform that has totally given you expansion. But you were not a believer. And even though we're not here to talk about EXP, I think it's important that we understand that you had to take the right steps. Tell us, break that down for us. How did you begin?
The same steps that I took when I was selling residential real estate, I always got very quickly that the size and strength of one's database will predicate the size and strength of their success, whether you're building an organization or whether you're selling real estate. And I've always believed that if I wanted to be successful, I had to have as many conversations as I possibly could and ask people the right qualifying questions to discern whether or not they belonged in my database. I was not willing to have a convoluted database. My database had to be comprised of people that were going to buy or sell real estate or be receptive to exploring EXP. So I was very focused on having conversations each and every day and understood the importance of really embracing the art of prospecting, going out there and taking not what I call a reactive, but a proactive approach to having conversations each and every day and putting myself in a position to have the success that I want, need, and desire. So what I do every day is, and I still do this today, most of my days are spent having conversations and prospecting with people. I did this as a real estate professional. And I do this today as somebody who's focused on building out a real estate organization.
So who are you having conversations with, Eric? Is it potential buyers and sellers, or is it other agents, or who is it?
Well, when I was selling real estate way back when, it was only, of course, buyers and sellers. Since EXP came out with a cloud-based real estate platform, which allows agents to enjoy revenue share, where the company shares $200 million of revenues with agents for simply doing the following: introducing other realtors to EXP and helping to grow and build the company. So today, my conversations take place with other realtors who may be interested in increasing their income earning potential and putting them and their families in a better financial state that realtors have typically ever been able to experience.
That's great. That's great. Something that I heard you say, Lucy, and this was something Eric said, was when you first got in the business, you did two important things. You had a mindset that you were going to learn and you weren't going to fail. And then you found mentors or people that had already succeeded, and you started watching them and copying them. And
without a doubt,
that is so important for people that are just starting out.
John, you really nailed it there. And it really does come down first and foremost to those two things. Well, three things. One is absolutely having the right mindset, because what you think about is what's going to manifest itself in your life, right? And if you're coming at this from anything other than being a servant leader, you're approaching the business with the wrong mindset. I'm here to help. I'm here to assist. I'm here to build a relationship. It's all about relationship selling to me. It's never about walking somebody to the edge of a cliff and then pushing them. My goal is to understand when somebody's ready to jump, so I'm ready to catch them. So number one is mindset. Number two, as you just said, is honing your tools, honing your selling systems or the different tools you need to be successful from mentors, from people that have been successful in the industry. They have a track record of success. So when in Rome, do like the Romans, right? If I want to be successful, I'm going to follow people that are successful. And three is having a system in place that you can follow. You need to have a blueprint. You need to have a map that takes you down that yellow brick road and ultimately leads you to a pot of gold.
Yeah.
Let's talk to the agents right now. I was just having a conversation, and I started something called Winners Wednesday. And I started it back in January, and I said, you know what, if I either go big or go home, I'm tired of playing small. I'm just going to emulate the people that have already built their organizations, and I'm just going to follow in their footsteps. I mean, that's it. What's the worst that can happen? Yesterday, I was talking to people that showed up from different brokerages and different industries in the real estate. I said, your database is a gold mine. This morning, and I want you to speak on this, because I feel for the people that are struggling, stuck in their old ways, in their old mentality, in their, paradigms. I had someone tell me, oh, but so-and-so told me that database is old. I said, a database never goes old. Can you elaborate on that? Because how do you see a database and what do you do with it? Because people don't even have a database, or they have one and they don't know what to do with it, or they don't use it. They're certainly not prospecting. We would not have 96% of the agents only closing 5 deals a year if they were using it. Talk to them about what they need to know.
So my whole business is predicated on the size and strength of my database. My focus each and every day is to reach out a minimum of 90 minutes a day, have conversations with realtors, and put those realtors into my database who aren't being there. There are certain bogeys, there are certain hurdles that a realtor is going to have to be able to cross in order to get into my database, because I don't want a convoluted database. But Lucy, you nailed it. You said something really important. Your database is priceless. But remember, you don't just put somebody in the database with the mindset of something's going to happen today and tomorrow. You put somebody in your database with the intention of being able to take a relationship that you've identified and fortify it or cement it, so that person ultimately becomes that prospect ultimately becomes a client. So the fortune is in the follow-up. The fortune is not in the qualifying call, the qualifying questions, which identify somebody going into your database. The fortune is in taking the relationships that are in your database and putting forth the time and the effort to properly nurture them so you could ultimately have what you want. You know, it's really interesting. After my first year in real estate, I built my organization door knocking. And I know, God, to a lot of people that are listening to this podcast going, how old is this guy door knocking? Well, I'm going to tell you, some of the most successful agents today are out there door knocking. They're getting face to face with people. And the reason they're getting face to face with people, John, is they want to have a conversation to determine if this person is a prospect, somebody worthy of being put into their database. And my model was really simple way back when, Lucy. I would door knock 200 homes a day.
Oh, wow.
200 homes a day. I did it in an area called Santa Clarita, California, where it's very kind of mountainous and it gets hot. And back then I was younger with longer hair. I mean, I would be drenched with sweat at the end of the day. And I knew if I knocked on 200 doors, I'd have 100 conversations. 50%. I knew that 50%. Out of 100 conversations, 92 people out of 100 people would tell me, Eric, go jump in the lake or something stronger, right? Something significantly stronger. But what did that mean? If 92 said to me, go jump in the lake, that means eight were receptive for me to continue communicating with them and ultimately assist them with their real estate needs as either their buyer's agent or a listing agent.
Wow.
Well, if I put 8 people in my database a day, at the end of a week, if I worked 5 days a week, that would be 8 times 5 is 40. At the end of a month, right? At the end of a month, I'd have 160. At the end of a year, you can continue extrapolating out. I had well over 1,000 people in my database. So I knew, Lucy, that I had a vibrant business. When I went to sleep at night, I had a very easy time putting my head on my pillow, knowing that I had a vibrant, very vibrant real estate business that I would never need to worry about finances by simply taking the simple actions of learning how to ask the right qualifying questions so they could properly go into my database and then focusing on really nurturing and enhancing that relationship.
You know, Lucy, this is so interesting because I feel like we're having deja vu from our Winners Wednesday because this is exactly what we talked about.
Yes.
And I think one of the interesting things, Eric, is when you take your mindset, when you take your focus off of making money and you turn it to conversations and building relationships, the whole landscape changes.
I want to add something I think is really important, and I think people often, right? I view business sometimes like a race. There's a starting line and there's a finish line.
Yes.
And I think so many times, and not just in real estate, inside and outside of real estate, people spend so much time in that starting line trying to make a decision. Should I run to the left? Should I run to the right? Or should I run straight down the middle? It doesn't make a difference. You need to simply take action and get off the starting line so you can cross the finish line. And I believe we deliberately play this mental game with ourselves of how should I do it? We just throw more and more and more questions. It's not that hard. You want to be successful, talk to more people, know how to ask the right qualifying questions, expect the objections to come up so you could isolate, handle, and overcome them, and know how to close and ask for business by understanding relationship selling and nurturing.
Yep.
It's as simple as that, and it starts with taking action each and every day.
Absolutely. And people know whether we've come to them wanting something or to give them something. People just can tell that right up front.
They can, definitely.
Yeah.
And the other thing
go ahead.
The other thing that I realize is that, we're human beings. We're habitual by nature. When we do most of our thinking, it's right when we put our head in our pillow at the end of the night and we reflect on our day. And so much time is spent thinking, am I truly a professional? Am I being authentic? Mm-hmm. Am I successful? Am I mirroring positive behavior for my kid? How am I going to pay my bills? we take so much headspace and time going through that mental warfare that, to me, it's really simple. I'd rather get up in the morning, have conversations to ensure that I never have to have those conversations. So when I look in the mirror, I can say to myself, I'm really successful and good at what I do. I have money. I am mirroring a good example from my child. So to me, it's much easier to get up in the morning, take action, and not procrastinate than to have to lay in bed at night and go through that mental warfare. In the same way that I'm not about to walk over to the kitchen right now and put my hand in a hot stove, I wouldn't want to inflict that type of pain. I believe if I don't get up each and every day with the mindset of making today and every day a masterpiece, I believe it's like putting your hand in a fire and burning the hell out of yourself. Nobody would do that.
So for everyone that's joining us and didn't join us from the beginning, or you're watching on replay, we're speaking with Eric Orland. This gentleman has literally built and rebuilt his own empire. And I love one of the things that, you know, we can literally say about you is that you have been in the trenches. You have put the work behind what you and we all tell people to do. And you've created one of the fastest growing organizations in real estate, over 3,000 people in the last 60 months. I mean, the amount of time that it takes someone to pay off a car, you built an empire. And one of the things that really touched my heart is you say you want to make your son Jackson proud. So I want to leverage that so that you can talk to us about what does your morning routine look like? Because people say, yeah, Eric, but you know, you don't understand. I'm afraid of this. I don't have motivation. I don't know what to say. You know, I'm not from the right side of the tracks. I don't have time. So many things. So break it down for people, because they need to understand that what you did, I can do, they can do, and there's really nothing stopping us. But I think we need to like take it from our, you know, headset to our heart set.
Yeah.
What's your day like?
That's a great question. You know, it's really, we all of us have hard times in life, right? Life is about peaks and life is about valley. And the only way to get out of a valley and come back to a peak is to take action and have the right mindset. So we get to make a choice of every day. We get to make a choice of controlling the things that we think about. What we think about, right? What we think about on a continuum is going to affect the actions that we take, right? Or ultimately our behaviors and our results. So I make really sure, Lucy, that I'm almost programming myself to be successful. I get up in the morning and the first thing I do is affirmations. Affirmations each and every morning. And even when I don't feel wonderful about myself, because come on, we all have those times when we don't feel great. But each and every day, I could stay in a funk and continue to say terrible things about myself, or I could turn it around by saying positive affirmations. And I said earlier, and it's worth repeating, what you think about is going to manifest itself in your world.
Mm-hmm.
And then what I do is
well, go ahead.
And then what I do is I journal. And then I get into an exercise routine. And all of this is comprised of like, right, we want to look and feel a certain way. If you want to feel a certain way, or you want to look a certain way, you need to put some time and effort into that. And it's exercising. So if I sit on the couch and add a bag of eat multiple bags of potato chips, that is not going to help me in enjoying the way that I look. So for me, getting up in the morning, programming myself by meditating, by visualizing, by writing, and then taking action, getting into then working out, doing some form of exercise is typically what my morning is when I'm ready to go. And then my day really starts at 9 o'clock. And that doesn't mean 9:05 or 9:10. At 9 o'clock, I'm on the phone. I was just looking at my phone and I was thinking to myself before I came on here, how much did I get done today? And, you know, I know you can just see my phone. These is today, the phone calls that I made. I mean, it was one prospecting call after another. So I'm able to come on this call with you today and feel like I'm transparent and I've already taken action. So at the end of the day, I can look again in the mirror and think, today I made a masterpiece. I feel good about the actions that I took today. So my days consist of, from the moment I get up in the morning, programming my mind in the right way so I could take the actions I want to take. and that will allow my business to move forward and provide me the positive thoughts I have about myself.
But two things that you do, Eric, and this is Eric's system. You have your day set up for certain things are going to happen. As soon as you get up, you're going to do this, then you're going to do this, then you're going to do this. And the secret to it is your consistency. You don't give yourself a way out. You're committed to that consistency.
I am committed to my consistency. I am, because at the end of the day, that's going to impact my business and ultimately how I feel about myself. So
and
right.
I want people to hear that. If you're struggling, are you consistently applying yourself? Because that's the way to the top.
Absolutely.
And remember, at the end of the day, there's not always every day that I want to get on the phone and speak to somebody, or it may be late at night and I promised somebody I was going to send out a Zoom invite. But my thought process is, if I don't, how does that make me feel? Does that move me toward my goal, or does that move me away from my goal? And that will usually predicate the decision that I make. And it's always, does that move me in the right direction or the wrong direction?
And the other thing that people worry about a lot is, what can I control and what can't? What can I control? The only things you really need to worry about are, what can I control? And the answer is me and my actions and what I decide to do every day. Don't worry about all the other stuff that's going on. You have no control over that.
Yeah, it's funny, John. I had a conversation earlier today, and we were talking about, what is the macro, what does real estate look like on a macro level going forward? And I said, it's irrelevant, because you could talk to 20 different people and have 20 different opinions, but I am in fact in control of my own destiny. If I want to sell more real estate, I have to talk to more buyers and sellers. If I want to grow my organization at EXP, I have to talk to more realtors. So we are in fact in control of our destiny. And Richard Bernard Shaw said something really interesting, right? What he said is that, a lot of people walk through life saying, oh, something didn't happen for me in the way that I was supposed to, because circumstances weren't right. Well, you don't like the circumstances that you're facing, create your own set of circumstances, right?
Amen.
Yes.
Be responsible for your actions. And, would have been really easy for me to hang it up 5 years ago. And, I was 58 at the time when I went bankrupt. And my kid, as I said, got into college, and I had to look at him with tears rolling down my face and say, Jackson, I can't afford to pay for your college. I didn't know how I was going to put a roof over my head or put food on the table. But what I realized is that I was in control of my own destiny. I could remain in that funk, or I could take action and illustrate firsthand what success looks like and the actions that need to be taken. And that starts with an unwavering commitment and determination. I was not going to fall off the horse and stay down. I was cleaning myself up, getting back on the horse, and modeling for my son what proper behavior looked like. So he knew what to do.
Yes. And it's really important for everyone to hear. It's not that we don't fall off the horse. Stuff happens. Yes. We go through stuff. Life comes at us sometimes with a hurricane of challenges, right? And we have a decision to make. Do I stay knocked down, or do I get back up and write my best comeback story? So we're talking about having these conversations, right? And you obviously are an expert at having conversations. So I want to ask you this. Tell us about one of those conversations where you decided to do what you do every day, pick up the phone and talk to people for 90 days, that brought you one of your biggest breakthroughs, because we need to hear about this. Conversations.
I'll give you two really quickly. I'll give you two. One is, here I was, poor and destitute. I didn't know how I was going to pay for anything in my life. And what I did is I had just joined EXP. I was about 6 months in. Excuse me. Sorry.
It's okay.
So I was 6 months in, and I didn't know what I was going to do in terms of how I was going to build my organization. But again, it was the same mindset that I needed to take action each and every day. And I was sitting in my apartment in Miami Beach, and I said to a group of friends, I said, what is the name of that Spanish-speaking real estate coach here in Miami who seems to work with tons and tons of agents, has a great reputation? And somebody said to me, oh, his name is Orlando Montiel. I said, would you happen to have his telephone number? And they said, Eric, have you ever heard of Google? And I picked up the phone and I called Orlando and I introduced myself and I asked him some qualifying questions. 30 days later, Orlando came into EXP. Out of my almost 3,000 agents, Orlando
Wow.
probably comprises 2,500 of those agents.
Oh my
That was
goodness.
on a cold call.
Hold on. That was too quick. Break it into bite-sized pieces. What did you tell Orlando Montiel, a real estate coach, influencer in the real estate arena? How did you introduce yourself? How did you
So,
carry
so
on
I,
that
I left
conversation?
I left a message for him and I said, Orlando, my name is Eric Orland. I said, I'm a real estate coach that just moved from California to Miami. And I wanted to introduce myself and see if we could potentially collaborate. I've really heard quality things about you and the body of your work. Please give me a call when you have a moment. And within 2 to 3 minutes, my phone rang. And he said, Eric, hey, it's Orlando Montiel. I've heard nice things about you as well. He said, what are your thoughts? And I said, Orlando, I said, do you ever get tired of having to sell the agents that you're coaching on re-upping for you to coach them or to buy your products? He goes, oh, it's horrible. I said, have you ever thought about taking these relationships with people who like you and trust you and monetizing that and creating a passive and residual income stream for yourself? He said, Eric, what do you have in mind? I said, Orlando, are you familiar with EXP? He said, Eric, I am, but I don't want to sabotage my core base of clients, my coaching clients that come from various brokerage firms. I said, are you familiar with Sean Kokoska and Tim Harris? He said, of course. Sean Kokoska built Bold at Keller Williams, and Tim Harris is one of the biggest real estate coaches in the world. I said, are you aware that they are with EXP? He said to me, weren't they concerned about sabotaging their core business? I said, that's a great conversation. Perhaps that's a great question to ask. Perhaps we should get them on the phone and you could ask them directly. 30 days later, Orlando came in and has built, an enormous organization. So that was based on a cold call. The other cold call I made was to a gentleman by the name of Louis Andrew Ruiz. He runs the Louis Andrew Group, which is the number 3 or 4 group in the entire state of California for EXP. And I cold called him as well. And he happened to pick up his phone. And I said, Orlando, my name is Eric Orland. I said, would you be receptive? Would you be receptive to looking at a brokerage platform that may allow you to keep more of your commissions and potentially aligns with the direction you'd like to take your real estate business by offering you multiple other streams of income, one of which happens to be a passive income stream? Is this something you might find compelling? And would you be simply open to exploring together? And he said, I'm not interested. Almost as the words were coming out of my mouth. And I said, may I ask? That's an objection. I said, may I ask, what aspect of keeping more of your commissions, having ownership or equity in your brokerage firm, or having the good fortune of having a passive and residual income so you could get paid like a broker without any of the responsibilities of being a broker, do you not find compelling? He said to me, that's a great question. Now, it took me 3 years to bring into EXP.
Wow, talk about follow-up.
And that was all about taking that relationship and properly nurturing it, so I could have the type of organization that I wanted.
Wow. These are the heavyweight players of the industry that I want to be around. I want to be like a little girl in Disneyland. And when we met each other in Dallas, I was like, you'd really come on Agents in the Trenches? And let me tell you, Eric, the person responsible for nudging me or pushing me, either one will work. Lucy, you got to bring people that are outside your area. Why are you just like in a box only in your area? And that's when, a week later I was in Dallas and I said, would you come and tell us about you on Agents in the Trenches? And here we are national. So I represent the segment of people that are playing too small. I'm humble enough to say that. That's me. I am representing the segment of our population. And I'm just not talking, ethnicity. I'm talking real estate. I'm talking about people that have been in the industry for many, many years, have a 10 level potential, but we're playing at a level 4. I'm not ashamed to say it because I'd rather be inspirational to someone, including myself. How many calls? Because here's what I want people to understand. This wasn't just like a magic pill phone call that you made to Orlando Montiel or an overnight success with the other real estate
Louis Andrew.
leader. How many calls, more or less, in between these two breakthroughs?
So my model works the following way. So I spend 90 minutes a day working out what I call working out my business. So when you get on a treadmill, right, you get in a treadmill and you work out, you're working out your body, you know, you're working your muscles to get in really good shape. Well, I look at my business the same way. I work out my business for 90 minutes each and every day.
Wow.
And my goal is simply doing the following, Lucy, watch. I want 3 people to tell me that they're open-minded about exploring EXP, that they are willing to watch the 2 videos I'm going to send out to them, and they're willing to have a follow-up call with me. They then have earned the right to be a part of my database. So I look to put 3 people out of 90 minutes of calls a day, 3 people into my database. If I do that 5 days a week, that's 15 people at the end of a month. That's 60 individuals. You ready? At the end of the year, if you stay committed, focused, and determined, you'll have 720 people in your database, or I'll have 720 people in my database. If 10% of them convert, I've just built out a multi $100,000 business.
That's amazing.
There's the formula. It starts
There it
with
is.
working out on your business, working on your business. Now, let's take this a little deeper. You had a creative idea. I love creative ideas. I'm always thinking about what next. You had a creative idea, and tell everyone the technology that you created to help other people be able to do what you've done, because now you're sharing the knowledge.
Yeah, so I've always believed that, again, it comes down to 3 things to be successful. 1 is mindset, 2 is honing your skills, 3 is having a system in place. And a system for me is a blueprint. It's a roadmap. It's a mapping device, how to get from point A to point B. I did not want to take anything up to chance whether or not I was going to be successful. So I created a system. You know, what are the right questions to ask somebody to earn the right to go into your database? How do you properly nurture and cement a relationship by having a successful drip campaign? When somebody gives you an objection, how do you respond to that? How do you convey the EXP story in a way that resonates with somebody through a 2-minute elevator speech? So I created a blueprint first for myself to ensure my success. And then I wanted to have that blueprint for others in my organization, because the more successful they were, Lucy, the more successful I would be, right? So if they were growing, my organization would grow as well. So I then created this blueprint, or I shared this blueprint, not created, but shared this blueprint with other agents so they can be successful and help me grow and build. And then we made it available to every other agent at EXP. And it is a subscription-based platform. It was initially called Attraction Flow. And we recently, over the last 6 to 8 months, went through a complete rebrand, a redesign, a user interface. It's now called Attractify. And there are 3 components to Attractify. The first is we have 10 plus Zoom calls a week where we prospect with you, where you can hear us on the phone and we listen to you and provide feedback. We do 2 or 3 introducing the model calls. So an agent no longer has to be great at selling EXP, which is difficult to do with all of the features and benefits. So we have multiple calls a week. We have Q&As that I just did right before I came onto this call. There are 10 Zoom calls a week, really pouring into the agents, lots of support, coaching, training, and support. The second thing we have is tools, state-of-the-art tools, like our brokerage cost comparison calculator, which illustrates for an agent how much they're paying their existing brokerage firm versus what they pay at EXP, and clearly illustrating for them the difference in cost savings. We have things like the Attractify flow chart, right? So we have all of these tools and systems that are absolutely terrific. And that includes scripts, objection handling techniques, and so on. And then the third component is what we call, it's somewhat like a CRM, a CRM, which is a database management system. And what it does is it utilizes AI. So if I'm calling you, Lucy, in an effort to see if I could bring you into EXP, AI is listening to the conversation and taking copious notes. So you now have a history of what that person has said to you. AI will then interpret the phone call. And if somebody is a prospect, it will identify them as being hot, warm, and cold. If that person during the conversation gives you an objection and you're not great with objection handling, your phone is going to act as a teleprompter and it is going to show you exactly how to respond to that person on the phone.
I
What's
love
going to
it.
happen if someone's a prospect, your calendar is going to pop up and you're going to set your second appointment, which is what we call our rating call. It's going to send out 2 videos for the agent to be able to review to get acclimated with the XP, and it's going to initiate a drip campaign. What Attractify does, it provides you the communication. It gives you the words, what to say, when to say it, and how to say it. It keeps you organized in a way that, unlike anything that I've seen before, for anybody that is really serious about building an organization, please reach out to me. I'm happy to share my phone number. It's 415-595-9000. Again, that's 415-595-9000. My name again is Eric Orland. Or go to Attractify, attractify.ai. It's attractify.ai. Go to the website. There's a 3-minute demo on the website, which will give you a great overview. Or feel free to pick up the phone. But for those agents that are really serious about building an organization, I have not seen a better product on the market. What you put in to building out your organization or selling real estate is exactly what you'll get out. This platform has every tools, system, support, and the technology to make you as successful as you choose to be.
Did you build this system out yourself?
I don't know how to copy and paste. I'm being a little facetious there. I have a very bright software engineer who basically said to me, "Hey, Eric, I love how you run your business, but it needs to be automated." So we've done this together, and I will say this, I don't know how many subscribers we'll ultimately have because it's going to launch in 4 weeks, but I could not be prouder of the way this product looks, feels, and works in assisting agents build out their dream of having an organization that will provide them a passive and residual income stream.
Wow. I'm speechless. Eric, God bless you. I mean, you have walked the walk, you have paved the way, you have picked yourself up, brushed yourself off. You are a role model to people that are wanting to, go for more, right? And the best part is that you were at the top. You know what it is to be at the bottom. You know what it is to walk through that gap. And now you are at the top again and bringing more people with you. I want to respect your time, but this has been such a powerful conversation that so many people need to hear. I hope it's not the first and the last time. I want to bring you back again.
Thank you for having me on here. And I want to really, I appreciate all the kind words and accolades, but sometimes I don't even take the time to look back. I just think that, we can choose to live a life of pain and anguish, or we could choose to live a life of prosperity and feeling good about ourselves based on the actions that we take. So I don't often pat myself in the back. What I do is acknowledge that I didn't want to walk around feeling tremendous emotional pain and not knowing how to pay my bills or feeling I was unsuccessful. So I simply took action. And I think if everyone kind of heeds to that advice, take action, knowing that when you take action, it makes you feel better about yourself. It makes you take actions that will lead to positive results. It's as simple as that.
Wow. John, I'll let you close it out. I think this was such a powerful session with Eric.
Yeah, Eric's got me rethinking how I'm doing things as well. So anytime anybody inspires you to look inward, that's a powerful thing. So now, Eric, it's been tremendous. You are filled with a vision and a mindset that everybody could look towards and copy. So thank you very much for being on the show today.
I thank the both of you. I love interacting with people and sharing, and I appreciate you having me on.
And come on back to the United States when you're ready. Okay. We got a spot for you in Florida.
Yes.
I think I'm on my way back.
Yes. Come visit me on the West Coast, which is the best coast of Florida. I grew up on the East Coast, but the West Coast is the best coast as far as I'm concerned.
One question, Lucy. Eric, have you written a book or anything?
I have not written a book, and at this point in time, I feel like I am focused on, I'm very focused on building my organization and not deviating a lot. But between Attractify, building my organization, and buying real estate on a pretty regular occurrence, I'm tapped out, John. I mean, I'm
Your
trying to
your
figure out.
concepts are universal for any business.
Thanks, buddy. Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks so much.
All right, guys, and that's a wrap. We had the master of organization building from the ground up, Eric Orland. Thank you so much. We will see you next time. Bye, Eric. Thank you for coming
Thanks,
on.
John. Appreciate
Bye,
you both.
everyone.
Bye, guys.